Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Ailey. Today's video is going to be something non-makeup related for a change. I did the tattoo tag a while ago. Oh god, it's probably over a year ago now actually. And it was quite well received. It was probably one of my most watched videos at the time, and it was one that I really enjoyed actually. So I decided I actually am getting another tattoo on this coming Tuesday. By the time this goes up, I've probably had it already. So if I have had it already, I'll insert a picture of it here. But it's pretty much just made me think of, I haven't actually done an awful lot. Well, that's the only real tattoo content I've ever done on my channel. And if you've watched that video, if you haven't, I'll link it up here for you. But if you've watched that video, you'll know I have quite a lot of tattoos. I've been getting tattooed for well over, well, like, I don't know, 12 years or something like that now. So I just figured that now would be a good time to do it since I'm getting a tattoo on Tuesday. I may or may not have a little bit of content of that. If I do, I will insert it in this video. If I don't, then I don't. Because obviously you don't really want to go into somebody's place of work and try and film just because you have a YouTube channel. So anyway, I thought I would make this video a little bit of advice for anybody who wants to get a tattoo for the first time. So I have a few things, and my advice would be, one, definitely make sure you're of age. If you're in the UK, you have to be 18 years old. I'm not sure how old you have to be everywhere else, but make sure that you are of age, because obviously you're not going to get tattooed. And if you, in this kind of day and age, in 2018, people aren't going to fall for fake IDs and stuff like that. So you really do need to make sure that you are the correct age, because if somebody's willing to tattoo you without a driver license or like a passport or something like that as proof of ID, then they're probably not worth their salt, to be honest, because nobody is going to risk their business to tattoo somebody who's underage. So yeah, I would just make sure that you are of age. The next thing I would say is, everybody is always, or not everybody, but a lot of people, I mean, you still do get the age old, oh, what's it going to look like when you're older and stuff like that, but you do want to look back on your tattoos in 10, 15, 20 years time and not regret getting them. So I would put a little bit of thought into your tattoos. If you have a really quirky personality, you go out and you do stupid things and things like that, then getting a tattoo that you sort of regret, not sort of regret, but you know, that people would look at and be like, well, that was stupid. Maybe your style, you know, you may look at your tattoo and have really fond memories. So getting silly tattoos isn't necessarily a bad thing. It all depends on you, your personality, your life, stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, put a little bit of thought into it. Think about making your tattoo original. I mean, most tattoo artists will change up a design now anyway, because they don't want somebody walking around with a clone tattoo. But yeah, pick something that you know that you're going to look back on and you're going to still enjoy having it on your body. Don't go around the internet and try and figure out how painful your tattoo will be, because it's just stupid. I mean, it's not stupid, I did it. Everybody's pain tolerance is different. Everybody's parts of their body react to pain in different ways. Some people will get a foot tattoo and it will be nothing. My foot tattoo was the most painful thing on this planet. Some people, an inner arm tattoo is really sore. I have one on either side and I didn't find either of them particularly sore, but some people think that that's the sorest place on their body. So don't stress yourself out and go around the internet and look for how painful is my tattoo going to be. Make sure that you find somebody that if you're going to get a big tattoo and you're going to be sitting in their chair for 3 hours, you don't want somebody that's going to make you feel really uncomfortable. You want somebody that you feel quite comfortable with, especially if you're in quite an exposed position, which you can be sometimes. I can remember when I got my back done, I've got a full back piece, and I had to sit basically with something held up against my chest and leaning on a chair, and I was quite exposed with my whole back not covered up. So you do have to feel quite comfortable. If you're a girl, you might like to go with another girl, or a woman obviously. If you're a bloke, you might want to go to a guy. If you don't really care either way, then it doesn't really matter, but just make sure that you think about that. Like, are you going to be comfortable sitting being tattooed by this person? And it may be a case of just get to know them first, actually have some contact with them. Don't just book your appointment and that be that. Go in, have a conversation. If you have any concerns, that's what they're there for. They're there to be able to answer your questions, because at the end of the day, they are the professional, you aren't. So you can go in and you should be able to ask them anything. Look at their previous work, I would say, when you're wanting to pick a tattoo artist. And don't just go by pictures, because in the age of the internet now, it is like, I mean, when I got my first tattoo done, my tattoo pictures and other people's tattoo pictures and the ones that I looked at were in a book. They were in like a photo album. They weren't on Facebook. Facebook was not big back then. The internet wasn't even really crazy big back then. So, God, I make myself sound really old. I'm not that old, I swear. But yeah, so it was like a raw image that was taken off a camera and it was printed out and it was put in a book. So it wasn't through all this editing software. And I know that, I mean, there's lots of people that edit their photos and just spruce up colours and things like that. Like, I do that with my makeup. If I need to make sure that my inner corner highlight is coming out the way it looks in real life, I'll edit it. But if somebody's editing tattoo work, if somebody's editing anything really, you don't get a proper perception. So somebody's going to be paying for that service. I don't think that tattoo photos should be edited. Now, I think the same with makeup. I edit the lighting in my makeup photos for work, but I don't edit anything else because I'm selling that to somebody else. I can't sell them a photoshopped image, because when they come in and they get their makeup done, they're not going to leave with a photoshopped image. They're going to leave with a real life image. So I feel like anything like that is something that you're trying to sell, you shouldn't be editing it. So don't just go by their previous work, go by their reviews. See, if it's somewhere that you've never been before, you might not know anybody that's been to them, but if it's somewhere that's near to you, then see if you can find people, or even put it on like a page or something like that and say, has anybody used this tattoo artist before? And get feedback from people, see what their tattoos look like, stuff like that. At the end of the day, they're putting a piece of art on your body that is going to be there for the rest of your life. The next thing is, don't go with somebody because they're so cheap, or just because they're cheap. Because at the end of the day, same thing again, it's going to be on your body for the rest of your life. So do you really want to pay, like, do you really want to not pay a lot of money and have something rubbish? Or would you rather pay a little bit more money and have something that is actually a work of art? Now, in saying that, there are some that are just ridiculous. I can actually remember, I mean, my tattoo artist is phenomenally priced and I absolutely love her work. A lot of her work is freehand. If you've seen my other video, you'll have seen my tattoos. Her work is beautiful. It may not be to everybody's taste, but I think every tattoo artist has one thing that they're really good at, or a few things that they're really good at. But you don't want to sell yourself short by not paying an awful lot of money, but then when you get somebody who has a great reputation, maybe they have the skills and the ability to back that up. But when I actually was on holiday in Florida, there's a tattoo shop in Universal, and they wanted, I think it was at $250 before they even started tattooing. It was a minimum price of $250, and the tattoo that I'm getting on Tuesday, or I have gotten if this is up after Tuesday, they wanted $250 for that, and then I think they were saying it was probably going to cost $350 all in. I choked. And it's because it's the novelty of getting it done in Universal. I understand that, the tattoo artist, and to be honest with you, when I looked at their work, I'm not saying that they're bad tattoo artists or anything like that by any means, but it wasn't like my vibe. The stuff like that they did was great and all, but it wasn't stuff that I was immediately drawn to. So I was like, I'm not paying $350 for a tattoo it's actually going there and it's going to be about that size. I'm sorry, but that's a ridiculous amount of money. And somebody saying that they're you know, half an hour of their time is worth that much money when I could get it done at home for a much more reasonable price. I don't know how much it's going to be yet, but a much more reasonable price. Just because it's not a novelty getting it done inside a theme park, I think I would rather go to somebody that I trust and I know is very, very good at the job. So yeah, don't be pulled in by stuff like that as well. Just because somebody's in a prime location and just because they have obviously a massive internet following or something like that, don't think that they are necessarily worth their salt. If you look at their stuff and it's not your vibe, don't go to them, because obviously if you don't like any of their other stuff they're done, why would you like what they're going to do on you? So that's not any shade to any tattoo artists or anything like that. I'm sure that a lot of them are very, very, very good, but like I say, people with large followings and things like that, because they tend to book up quickly, they will just say, right, but this is my minimum charge, because I'm not pulling out all of my stuff, you know, until I get this money. Because if you think about it, if somebody's renting a shop that is £1,000 a month, they're not going to have as many overheads as somebody who's maybe paying £10,000 a month, you know, because they've got prime real estate in London or something like that. So just think about that as well. Don't drink beforehand. I wouldn't suggest taking painkillers, because especially like aspirin and stuff like that, because some of it thins your blood. Don't buy skin numbing creams either. Unless you speak to your tattoo artist or they have one you can use, don't use one, because it can penetrate into the skin and it can affect how the ink's absorbed and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to make your tattooist's life easier and your life easier when it comes to healing up your tattoos. So don't drink and don't be using anything topical on the area. Biggest, most important tip I would say for going to get a tattoo, if it's your first, if it's your third, if it's your 19th, take fizzy juice. You can take water with you, but I would say take fizzy juice, some sort of sweeties, some sort of food. I mean, don't bring a picnic with you. I always take a bottle of like Dr. Pepper or Iron Brew or something like that with me, and I always take soft mints with me. I don't know why, that's just my little tradition. I always take them with me. When I was getting my back done, I always took a cushion with me, because that was sort of like my comfort thing. And I would say if you can, take like a Mars bar or Snickers bar or something like that, because you need to keep your sugar levels up. You need to eat before you go. I wouldn't say eat right before you go, but before you go to your tattoo appointment, eat something. Do not go on an empty stomach because you're nervous or whatever. You will faint. You will pass out. I mean, if it's a tiny tattoo, you might be okay. But you will faint and your tattoo artist will lose all respect for you. So, especially as well, if you're going to be like somebody who doesn't tolerate pain very well, maybe warn your tattoo artist. Maybe get a little bit of a patch done first to see how you're going to react to it, because if you're screaming all hell, then they're probably never going to tattoo you again. Go back to getting something original and not just picking something off of a wall. I would say don't go to a tattoo parlor, tattoo artist, and ask for this picture. Like, do not, I mean, some people, maybe they think it's fine, but do not go into a tattoo artist shop and say, can I have this? Because you wouldn't go to an artist and say, could you repaint this painting for me? So why ask a tattoo artist? Because at the end of the day, they are artists. Why would you ask them to copy somebody else's work? I always find that with like nail things and stuff like that too. I feel a bit weird trying to do the same as what somebody's shown me in a photo, because that's not your artwork. So I always try and change it a little bit. I mean, you can get something really, really similar, but, you know, change it up a little bit. Usually I try, if I can, and change things up myself, but a lot of the time I just can't do that because I'm not an arty person at all. But yeah, don't go in and ask for something identical. Unless it's you and a couple of friends that all want matching tattoos or something like that. You know, you could all get the same tattoo, but I just think that tattoo artists don't like doing replica tattoos, especially when it's not their own artwork to begin with. If you are getting a tattoo for the first time, think about placement. You don't want to rush in and get a neck tattoo for your first tattoo. They always say that there's like a thing where you have to earn your stripes before you get hand tattoos or visible tattoos, basically. So A lot of people will say you don't deserve a neck tattoo or a face tattoo or a hand tattoo because you are not tattooed. Now, I think that anybody is entitled to do whatever they want with their body. It's your own fault at the end of the day if it looks ridiculous or if you end up hating it. But a lot of tattoo artists will not tattoo you in a visible place. And when I say visible, I mean above the neckline, below the cuff line, because your hands are always out and your face is always out. Unless you walk around wearing a balaclava, your face is always on show. Tattoo artists will not tattoo you on these places because, unless you have other tattoos, because you can't cover them. So if you decide you don't like it, you're going to blame your tattoo artist. It's basically them covering their own back. And at the end of the day, they don't want you to end up in that situation. So, I mean, if you're constantly staring at a tattoo and you've never had a tattoo before, it can be, it's new. You have to get used to having something on your body that is there for life. I mean, I love my tattoos. I feel like I don't see them enough, and I get really annoyed that I can't see my back more than I can or more than I do. So when I go in the shower and stuff like that, I'll spend like 5 minutes just having a look at it and stuff because I just don't get to see it. But at the end of the day, they're covering their back as well as looking out for you. So get a couple of tattoos. You know, don't be like, oh, I'm just going to get a couple so I can get a tattoo in my hand. Just think about it. I mean, if you're in your 30s and 40s, fair enough. That's kind of like a different story. At that point in your life, you've kind of grown up enough to make your own decisions. But in your mid-20s, you need to think about it. And although a lot of people are good with tattoos now, there are some employers that are just like, no. By the time you're sure that you definitely don't want any of these jobs, then fair enough. I mean, I know that I didn't want to work anywhere where I wasn't allowed to have tattoos, so it didn't really bother me. When you get a tattoo for the first time, second time, third time, follow aftercare. Now, this is something that is kind of a bit of a pet peeve of mine, because with the treatments I do in my salon, I try and get people to follow aftercare, and it sometimes is quite difficult, and sometimes they wonder why things happen, and it's usually because they don't follow aftercare. But every tattoo artist will have a different aftercare because they recommend different things. Some people recommend wrapping up your tattoo after it's done. Some won't. Some will recommend wearing something over it when you've been and gotten home. Some people will recommend second skin. Some people will recommend bepanthen. Some people will recommend preparation H, tattoo goo, tattoo aftercare. There's loads and loads and loads and loads of different things. Follow whatever your tattoo artist recommends. All these different ways work, I'm sure, because otherwise why would they recommend them? But when I get my tattoo done, it gets wrapped up in cling film because it needs to sweat. Then after an hour, which is usually, you know, kind of giving me enough time to get home and get settled and stuff like that, I unwrap it, I wash it with, you know, kind of warm soapy water or tepid soapy water, and then I apply aftercare. And then I just keep it from going dry. And usually 9 times out of 10, I use tattoo aftercare, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't scab. Unless it's quite a big tattoo and it's got a lot of colour and stuff like that, and it doesn't tend to scab. But a lot of people will say use bepanthen. I have used bepanthen in the past and it's been quite good too, but you don't want to let it dry out and you don't want to oversaturate it. Those are the two things that you don't want to do. Basically, you just want to keep an eye on it, keep it clean, and I always was told don't wrap it back up again, because you need to let it dry out to an extent. You don't want it to dry out, but you don't want it to stay sticky and moist or anything like that. I said moist for everybody who doesn't like that word. I think that's all I can think of at the minute. I probably should have made a list, but I feel like a flipping newsreader when I make a list or I try and follow a program or something like that. And I just find that these videos aren't as free-flowing when I do stuff like that. So that is all I can think of for now. If you have any tips for first-time tattoo receivers, first tattoos. Anyway, somebody getting their first tattoo, leave them in the comment section below. If you've got any sort of tips and advice for people, leave it down there. I'm sure that other people will appreciate it, but apart from that, I think that is it. So, if you enjoyed this video, I hope it wasn't too boring for you, but if you did enjoy it, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!